Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 16.2 Liar's Land. We're back.
Yes, and hey, listen. If you're enjoying Aetheral Space, make sure to leave a review on Spotify and or Royal Road. Especially Royal Road.
The rankings. I need to be the number one hero.
You don't know this, but in Royal Road you get rankings based on how many ratings and comments and followers you get on Royal Road. And the higher up in the rankings you are, the easier it is for people to find you. Both by top rankings
you'll go. It's vicious.
Yeah. So Aetheral Space, you're not going to believe this. Now, I don't want to disparage other people. I don't want to be super shitty. But I think you've all seen the ads on Royal Road. There are series of those ads that are higher than Aetheral Space right now. Aetheral Space is a paltry number 1,902, I believe. We want to get it to the top 10. So if you have a Royal Road account, follow it, leave a review, comment, do everything you can, tell your friends about it. It means the world to us.
If you leave a review, any kind of review, it does give an incredible boost on that rating.
like a solid bit, yeah. Okay. Anyways, that's all. Enough plugging. A toy Muzazi stepped into the park. It was funny. When you got right down to it, all the obvious differences between Serendipity and Azumha could only be seen from a distance, looking at the planet as a whole. When you walked the streets and the squares, when you got right up close, it was difficult to tell them apart. Muzazi felt like he'd walked through parks like this one many times before. It was a busy day, with tourists and families eager to enjoy the good weather. Picnics had been set up all across the glass, and tours were underway to show off the park's distinctive bleed trees as they shifted to a vibrant red in the sunlight. Muzazi didn't turn to look, though. He had other things to worry about. By the way, have you seen Andor?
I have, yes. I love Andor.
I'm only on episode 6, but every time that, shitty Republic guy, I forget his name, you know the one who, insistently
Cyril,
yeah, every time he shows up, I'm like, is this going to be the series Muzazi? I'm just waiting for it to happen.
Sir, if I don't take this seriously, I'm not worthy to wear the uniform.
Exactly! I was like, oh my god, it's Muzazi.
He's like, chill.
He stepped through the happiness alone, as had been agreed, and sat down on a waiting bench. Beside him, an old woman tossed bread to a family of twin-head ducks. "I'm told you can help me," he said to the woman called the widow. "It depends," she replied evenly. "The kind of help I can give isn't usually asked for." "No games, please." Muzazi shook his head slightly. "Morgan already told me who you work for." The widow stopped tossing bread for a moment, until the ducks squawked in anger, and she resumed like nothing had happened. Muzazi turned to look at her. His eyes were stone. "I want to meet with Jamie Pirot," he said. To be honest, it was easier than expected for Muzazi to get this meeting, but the whole thing was a little suspicious. Morgan had been able to contact the widow so easily. The widow had agreed to hear Muzazi out so easily. And Jamie Pirot had agreed to meet face-to-face with him so easily. He couldn't help but feel that this path had been prepared in advance for him, that these people he'd approached were just play-acting secrecy, but even if that was true, that was fine. Muzazi didn't care about their motives. He only cares that they could give him what he needed. It's kind of weird that it goes pasta first. And so it was that he found himself sitting in a shuttle as it landed at the seat of man, the center of the UAP's government. How strangely fate turned. A few years ago he'd have thought of this place as the throne of the enemy. Now, he couldn't bring himself to muster up much emotion at all. All he had left inside was purpose. The ultraviolet who'd escorted him here, Zep Cole, he'd given his name as, opened the door for him, smiling down insincerely. Muzazi stepped past him without comment, out onto the public docking platform. Even this place was teeming with activity, crowds of new arrivals flowing into the building, but Muzazi supposed that only made sense. There was that meeting today, after all. "Mr. Pirot's part of the Department of Efficiencies," Cole said as he led the way into the building. "Pretty exciting, huh? Have you ever been there before? They deal with optimization. It's a whole thing." "Don't worry. I'll show you the way. 'Kay?" Muzazi let the teal-haired man go on and on, glancing around the grand reception of the Seat of Man. The room was cavernous, filled with circular desks where countless receptionists directed and advised visitors. Right in the center of the room, a massive fountain stretched up, 10 winding hands clasped together, with water pouring from between their knotted fingers. This place was full, too. The noise was such that Muzazi found himself wincing once or twice from the sheer volume, even with his ears infused. Frowning, he followed Cole to a staff elevator. The ultraviolet tapped in some keys and gave his fingerprint, allowing him access. "It's express," Cole explained. "Unless you want to wait half an hour to get 5 floors up, I'd recommend it, to be honest. Oh, wait. You don't work here, do you?" "My bad. I guess you'd have to take the public elevator after all, huh?" Muzazi knew that he'd thought that stuff about having nothing but purpose left inside him, but this guy actually was starting to piss him off now. Still, he restrained it. "This man, Pierrot," he said calmly as the elevator began to rise. "You've worked for him long?" "Well," Cole tapped his cheek, "I don't really work for him, per se. Officially, I work at Ultraviolet Tower, you know? You can see it on the horizon from here. This is more like a side gig, you know? You probably don't get this since you're unemployed, but sometimes us working adults have to make ends meet, right?" Muzazi said nothing in response to that. It had been a mistake to engage a clown like this in conversation in the first place. "Oh, come on, buddy!" Cole chuckled, patting a heavy hand on Muzazi's shoulder. "You want to know if you can trust old Pierrot, huh? Well, I'll tell ya." His smile dropped. "You can't. You're meeting with him because you want something, right? Take my advice. Snatch it out of his hands and run as far as you can. If you're fast enough, you'll make it before you get put on the game board." Muzazi looked up into the other man's green eyes, the elevator silent save for the quiet whir of cables. "If you feel that way about him," Muzazi asked, "why are you still here?" Cole smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. "Who, me?" he said. "Well, personally, I just love playing games." As the toy Muzazi finally entered the office of Jamie Pierrot, resolve in his eyes, Zep Cole waited outside the closed door. This was where his dominion ended. Sometimes Pierrot would have him guard someone, and sometimes Pierrot would have him end someone, but he reserved the work of creation for himself. Presumably there was some greater cause that Pierrot was pursuing, some end that justified the means. Cole didn't much care. He enjoyed these means well enough on their own. He looked down at his hand. Vaguely, he wondered how he would explain to a toy Muzazi what kind of situation he was in. Was there a smooth way to do it? "Hey, don't be weirded out or anything, but I kind of laid my eggs in you." Probably not. In truth, what Cole had injected into Muzazi's shoulder through his palm weren't eggs. They were pellets produced by his killing engine, Fatherhand, small enough to be introduced into someone's body without them even noticing the sting. Even now, they were just floating through Muzazi's bloodstream. Utterly harmless. Unless Papa gave them the order. Ugh! I don't like this. The moment they detected the activation pheromone, the eggs would hatch. I can see the JoJo influence here.
Too bad there wasn't an egg emoji.
Dispersing not young, but bursts of deadly pressure that would blow their target apart from the inside out. In essence, they were biological bombs. If you didn't know they were coming, even an Aether user would have a hard time defending against their attack from the inside. Cole closed his eyes, resting his head against the wall behind him. He was under the strictest of orders only to use his killing engine if it was truly necessary. That was how an imminent like him had managed to lay low all these years. But, oh man, he really hoped it became necessary. "Jamie Pierrot, I presume?" Muzazi asked. The man at his desk nodded. "A toy Muzazi. Please, take a seat." To be honest, the room was smaller than Muzazi had expected. He'd been led to believe this man was someone of import, and so he'd pictured a huge and extravagant office like what a supremacy minister would have. Instead, apart from a desk and 2 chairs, this room was fairly bare. One might even call it cramped. As Muzazi sat down, Pierrot tapped a button under his desk, and the blinds slid over the window. The two of them were bathed in gloom for a moment before the artificial lighting flicked back on automatically. "So," Pierrot said, his eyes inquisitive as he looked across the desk at Muzazi. "I understand you wanted to speak with me." "And you me." Pierrot ran a finger through his beard at Muzazi's response. "How do you figure that?" "You've got an operation going on," Muzazi said. "The Widow, Vanta Black squad, that ultraviolet outside. You're clearly not the sort of man who'd agree to meet me on a whim. The fact you've agreed to the meeting means there's something you want out of it, too." Pierrot chuckled, leaning back in his seat. "You might be getting a little ahead of yourself there, Mr. Muzazi. You still haven't told me what you want." Muzazi took a deep breath. "Aklaima," he said, a voice strained. "I need to make sure she's safe." Pierrot raised a gray eyebrow. "The former Supreme Heir?" "That's right." "It was my understanding that you'd betrayed the girl," Pierrot said, a sliver of surprise in his tone. "You stole her title as heir, no?" Muzazi clenched his fists. "That's right," he said somberly. "I betrayed and robbed her. That's exactly why I need to find her and make things right." Pierrot blinked. "You do realize, of course, that she's most likely dead." "She isn't dead." "The banquet is nothing to scoff at. Even you only managed to escape with the help of 2 nebula and many other factors. Do you really think a young girl without such assistance made it off that planet?"
"She isn't dead."
Muzazi's voice permitted no argument,
"And I think you know that yourself."
"Oh? The fact that you're meeting with me," Muzazi insisted. "The fact that you said she's most likely dead. I think you know she's alive." "If I knew that, why wouldn't I just say so?" "Because you're waiting for me to name my price." Pierrot smiled. "We live in uncertain times, Mr. Muzazi," Pierrot grunted as he stood up, strolling through the window. "The gathering today will help make things a little more certain, but no, not nearly enough." Stopping, he peeked through the blinds with 2 fingers. A sliver of sunlight trickled into the room. "Our unified alliance of planets isn't nearly as firm as we'd like to think," Pierrot mused. "The final church is an unknown after replacing their entire leadership, and the new Supreme—" "Dragon Hadrian," Muzazi interrupted. Pierrot looked back over his shoulder, locking eyes with the swordsman. "His name is Dragon Hadrian," Muzazi said, his gaze drifting down towards the ground. "No matter what throne he sits on, that fact won't change." "Which brings me to my price, as you call it," Pierrot said, clasping his hands behind his back as he turned fully towards Muzazi. "Name it." "The Supreme, Dragon Hadrian, is another unknown factor. The minions he's surrounded himself with, though? Well, that gives me cause for concern about how long the Cold War between us and the Supremacy will stay cold. I'd much prefer a Supreme we can rely on to be sensible." He did not blink as he stared at Muzazi, as if worried the slightest undue motion would scare him away. "Just tell me what you want," Muzazi sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "These dancing words and implications, I'm sick of them, truly." Hands still clasped behind his back, Pierrot stepped up towards his desk, and plucking a bottle of water from the mess upon its surface, began pouring a glass for Muzazi. "Let me describe to you the image I am seeing," he said. "Pour?" "An honorable candidate for Supreme, beloved by the people for his service and heroism, robbed of his victory by underhanded means. Pour. As the new Supreme proves to be absent and incompetent, no different to the previous, this hero reappears, having survived his adversary's attempts to assassinate him. Pour. The hero is perpetually out of the Supreme's reach, and so he serves as a banner, his supporters rising up behind the Supremacy's lines to fight for his crown. The unworthy Supreme is dethroned, and a true shining beacon installed in his place. All is as it should have been from the beginning." Pierrot put down the bottle. He was done pouring. The glass was full. "Tell me," he said, "would you like a sip?" Muzazi looked at the crystal-clear water before him, his own reflection glaring back at him, warped by angle and perspective. "You're asking me to start a civil war," Muzazi said quietly. "No," Pierrot replied. "I'm asking you if you want to save Aklaima." "And you can do that." "I have a friend," Pierrot said softly. "A friend who can do anything." Muzazi blinked. For a good few moments he just stared down at the glass of water. Then he reached out and gulped it down. It was the strangest thing. The water was no doubt cold and clean, but it tasted bitter all the same. "Have you ever been to Serendipity before?" Noelle asked, scrolling through her script. Aklaima shook her head silently. Her expression was concealed behind her mask, but the way she sat on the bench said it all. Hands on her lap, shoulders tense, legs drawn in, it was like the walls of the world were closing in on her. Noelle sighed, putting her script down. She, too, was wearing a mask. The pair was disguised as tourists from Aber Facade. But unlike Aklaima's blank porcelain, Noelle's had 2 blue segmented eyes that provided the vaguest impression of a face. Lenses narrowed to mirror the inquisitive expression behind the mask. "You okay?" Noelle asked. Aklaima shook her head. "No," she said honestly. "I thought I would be, but being here, doing this, you're not doing anything. Noelle said calmly. You're just protecting me once the time comes for upload. And once we've done that, there won't be a need to do anything else. When you've got the biggest gun, you don't need to worry about other people's knives, right? Aklama clenched her fists tightly. But if we use that, the point is that we won't need to use it. That's why people get the biggest guns. So that they won't have to fire them. It's crazy, but it's how the world works. Aklama said nothing, just staring into space. And Noelle sighed again. Listen, she said, I'm not going to ask you if you really want to be here, if you want to help us, or if you want to do your job and keep me safe. I know all that means nothing to you. What I will ask is this. Do you want to kill a toy Muzazi? The sharpest intake of breath. Yes. We did it.
We didn't do it. What do you mean we did it?
Oh, you can tell everybody. We did it.
Ah, what a lovely day in serendipity. My troubles are over.
Where did I leave off? Okay. God, there's so many questions. Lan asks, what % of people who were at Elysian Fields died?
Special officer wise, I'd say like 66%, 70%. They lost a lot of people.
What about Rebel Red? Regiment Red?
The majority, the vast majority.
Lan asks, if a Nebula killed the Supreme, would they host a Dawn contest?
It's never happened, but what would happen is the Nebula would probably be technically Supreme, but whether they would accept the position or not is another matter, and if they did, things would become very complicated very fast.
Interesting. MT asks, tell us about the Mariner line. How old they are? Is it a tidal bloodline? Things like that.
They're from the aquatic planet, so it's sort of a local thing. It's not something that we recognised in the vast majority of the galaxy. It's not like the Fifth Dead, Sixth Dead, that sort of thing.
MT also asks...
a line of warriors that share similar techniques and pass the thing. Like Jedi, aquatic Jedi, a little bit.
MT also asks how far they've fallen since Mariner 2 was said to be a legend and Mariner 13 got off screen.
Well, Mariner 2 was like one of the originals. Basically, it's more like a matter of it's fucked because it's like the original Mariner was so strong, but his techniques and everything are like deteriorating as they get passed down. So each Mariner like has to compensate with little tricks and stuff until there's very little of the original ability.
That's so fucked. It's like reverse all for one or one for all or whatever. It gets worse every generation. Fuck. Could you make an Aether technique that's just one for all? You just keep passing it and it absorbs other Aether techniques?
Oh, it doesn't do that.
Yeah. Soft asks, at least from what... Oh, they're just answering. Lan asks, could Ruth manifest pieces of her armor on an opponent's body, or is there some kind of implied... Okay. People talking. Rurum asks, how are the special officers who were on Elysian Fields treated? Like a war hero and wow, you were there? Or is you came back while the Supreme died? You should have died there.
It was a glorious battle. You were looked upon very well.
Yeah. A Supreme, a fucking Elysian Fields vet. Are there any Elysian Fields grifters out there?
Probably, yeah.
People who were like hidden in a ship the whole time and are like, yeah, I was on Elysian Fields.
Yeah, I was in the first round of the lottery.
I actually 1v1 Dragon and stood my ground for 10 minutes.
He confessed that if he didn't go all out, I might have killed him.
That's so good. How many grifters does the Supremacy have, I wonder?
A psychological battle.
Things Dragon has never said. Lan asks, now that the Crimson Carnival's gone, is Nail the last existing Guardian Entity user?
No, there's some on the HexK still. The vast majority of like Guardian Entity users are still on HexK. And as people leave the planet to balance the universe, probably more networks will get formed. And
did HexK join the Supremacy officially?
No, in the UAP. That's where we stand.
Okay. I really wanted to get to my question, but I don't want to keep you here all night, so I'll leave off here, and mine will be next time.
Okay. We will be at halfway chaos because I have been sick, guys, so I apologise. But I'll do my best to keep track for the weekend and make it longer than usual.
He
I have
will,
been sick.
He will get 2 chapters done no matter what if we get reviews.
Yeah.
Keep that in
Do
mind.
you want some more chapters, guys?
So exploitative. Alright, thank you all for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye-bye.